So I just saw 12 Years a Slave, and it was pretty fantastic. Out of all the films I've seen so far in 2013, this is without a doubt the best one. Now, I've been paying attention to Steve McQueen ever since his first feature-length film in 2009, and holy shit does this guy have a great track record so far. As some of you may know, the bar that I've set for calling something fantastic is pretty high, and I have no problem using that word to describe all three of his films. He definitely knows his shit. I was a bit skeptical because this is the first of his films where he's not credited as a writer, but now I feel like I can trust him to choose quality scripts that he can work with. And that being said, this would totally not be the same movie at all if it was directed by somebody else. Somehow he's able to push each actor to the peak of their performing abilities, which does a lot in terms of selling the scene. Some of the best shots are the ones that have a lot of patience, allowing the images to be much more disturbing when you're forced to soak it in as opposed to being shown a bunch of quick cuts. Hans Zimmer's score was great as usual, and even though the main theme felt just a little bit recycled and repetitive, I was definitely impressed by the way the music worked with the boat scene. The instruments used for the score were consistent with a time period, but the low brass and heavy percussion in that scene almost gave it a modern industrial kind of feel. I was expecting the film to be dramatic, but I wasn't expecting it to be so intense. I continued to be impressed by Steve McQueen's decisions behind setting up each shot, how wounds from violence in the film were mostly shown as an aftermath, but then later showed right in front of your eyes to force you into witnessing how gruesome it is. He could have easily just shown it the same way throughout the film, but the order in which he showed the variations of those similar events had a much more powerful effect. One could also say that it's symbolic for characters finally coming to terms with what they've been turning a blind eye on for so long. The effect that it gives on the viewer is very similar to the uncomfortable involvement of the character in that scene. Now, although this film is more accessible to mainstream audiences than his previous films, I didn't feel as if any real quality was sacrificed in order to be able to tell the story. He tried something different and it still really worked. And I think it's great that he was able to prove that he could still make a mainstream accessible film but not sugarcoat anything. This one gets a 9 out of 10.